Anyways, welcome to Tech Tuesday, everybody. If you haven't, if you didn't watch last Thursday's meeting, I think it was Thursday. Yeah. When we did a meeting with Larry. Now I'm totally spacing this last name. That's horrible. But Larry is a tax accountant, and we did a pretty deep dive into the accounting side of being a real estate agent. But I kind of cut a couple conversations short because I figured we could cover more basic tracking and basic accounting in a different meeting because there's so much to discuss. But just like last meeting, I would love for this to be like open question and answer. So feel free to just say something if you have a question, just unmute yourself and we'll talk about it. But this is not like a well-organized meeting that I have like, beginning, and middle, and end. I just have a bunch of notes here that that I think my suggestion to all of you guys would be there's not one way to do what we're going to talk about, but find the best way for you and then stick to it and make a plan in regards for keeping track of your accounting and your finances. So yeah, let's jump right in. So let's first just talk about the importance of this. We'll talk a little more as we go on, but like when you are just to go on a really basic level, what is a write-off? A write-off is something that you're saying was an expense to your business, and thus you can write that off of your income. Okay, so if you make $100,000 and you have $20,000 in expenses, that is reducing your taxable income, right? So the reason it's so important is because it's literally, when you have a business expense, it's literally, depending on your tax bracket, like getting 20% off to 30% off to maybe as low as 15% off, depending on what tax bracket you're in. So that's why it's so important. We're not talking about, saving, this isn't just a hassle for no benefit. Like you can save a ton of money. If you're in that 20% tax bracket, tracking your expenses properly will literally save you 20% on things like a laptop, on your gas, etc. So that's why it's so important. I wanted to start by saying I have a book recommendation. It is a real estate investor book, but the principles are all really they apply to our business, to us as real estate agents. And I'm pulling it up right now. I just listened to it on Audible. And then I bought the hard copy because I wanted it as like a workbook on my computer, on like my desk, because I realized it was good to listen to and get the content. And I, can listen to a book way faster than I can read it because I'm always running around and doing things. I'm listening in the car, but it was so good. I don't do this often. I bought the book and now I'm going to go through it again and kind of underline things and then like tab pages to be like, oh yeah, I remember I got to take that. And this is so embarrassing. I can't find it. Okay, here it is. The book on tax what a horrible name. This name was obviously come up with by a CPA. The book on tax strategies for the savvy real estate investor. Amanda Hahn and Matthew McFarland. I'll have Robin include that when she sends out our email, and all the apps I'm going to mention today, we'll include this in our follow-up email. So don't feel like you have to write everything down. Anyways, this is a phenomenal book. He talks about, again, it's focused on real estate investors, but he talks all about like, hey, different ways you can deduct gas. We talked about this last week, but like you can either pay for your gas and write off when you pay for it, or you can just deduct X amount per mile that you drive. They talk about the home office write-off. They talk about everything that, again, an investor and a real estate agent, we have very similar expenses. So it's totally applicable. I kind of forgot as I was listening to it that they were talking to investors and not agents, because it was really along the same line. So a lot of what I want to talk about is the best way to track these things. So there's so many different ways to do this, and none of these ways is better than the other. It's just find out what works best for you. But most importantly, what I would suggest is really try and get to something digital, as opposed to saving receipts in your purse or in your pocket or in your car center console. That's like if you don't take anything else away from this today, that would be my number one thing, is at least come up with a receipt system. So I just started a new one. So this year I'm doing QuickBooks Self-Employed, which I'm going to get into in just a little bit. I'm going to show you guys a quick video on kind of how it works. QuickBooks Self-Employed, I think, is like $3 a month. It's like nothing. Super, super cheap. And I just made that switch this year. But I want to show you guys something that I've done for the past, since 2018, a super easy way of keeping track of expenses. So this is gonna be kind of hard because we're doing it from my phone. So on my phone, on my front screen, I go Google Drive, and you can substitute Google Drive with Dropbox, or there's so many other programs, iCloud. I just use Google Drive. So I go Google Drive, and this, oh, I was already in the folder I wanted to show you guys. So this is when I would be at Costco, and I'd be buying some for my Airbnb, and then I'd also be buying some wine as a gift for some clients, and then I'm also buying groceries for my family. So I would end up having 3 receipts, right? Sorry, someone's trying to get into the meeting, and they're okay. So I'd have 3 different receipts by the end of it. So what I would do is I would literally pull my card over afterwards, and I would just write on the top very briefly the name of what the business was for. Sometimes also I would have 4 receipts because I bought something for Turnkey and I used a Turnkey credit card. Anyways, people at Costco hate me when they see me coming. But then I just write on the top really briefly what it's for, client gift or whatever, or for my Airbnb, like Airbnb supplies. And then I just go into Google Drive on my phone, and I click on, I had a folder for taxes, 2020, and then I've got HST, that's the business that I manage here, Isaac Broker, PMP, that's the business that my wife and I have for our rental properties, and then Turnkey. And that's it. So then I would just pick which folder, Turnkey, take a picture of the receipt, throw it away. That's it. That's like such an easy system that anybody can institute right away. It'll just save you so much headache. Because again, I'm just going to say this one time, as we talked last week, when you file your taxes, you do not need your receipts. Everybody thinks you need your receipts when you file your taxes. You only need your receipts, some of your receipts, if you are audited. Okay, so these are just to be stored, put away, forgotten. Hopefully you're never audited. But if you are audited, they're going to pick a few things and say, okay, you have a lot of Costco receipts, and they're going to say, I want to see this one, this one, this one. Now you have to find them. And the cool thing about Google Drive, and this will be the case with most things, it documents when I take the picture, and it just automatically puts it in there. It takes me seriously 30 seconds. It documents the date and the time. So if they say, so it matches up with my, what's the word I'm looking for? My bank statements. So if they say, hey, I want to see your Costco receipt from October 17th, I can just go through my pictures, and they're all in order, and I'll find October 17th, which is a good reason to also take the picture right when you're leaving the store, as opposed to taking pictures all at the end of a month. If that makes sense, right? Okay. So again, this meeting was not like some big, well planned out talk. Does anybody have any questions about any of that?
Yeah, I was wondering, Isaac, when I got my taxes done last year, the gal told me that you're required to keep a physical copy of your receipt, and that a scanned copy wouldn't suffice if you got audited.
She's wrong. Sorry, I'm not a tax.
That's what I thought. And I was like, no way in this day and age when we have everything scanned.
She's 100% wrong. Wow, I'm surprised I'm saying that about a CPA, but I mean, Wilson, you used to manage a restaurant. Back me up on this. That's like, she's totally wrong, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure in what context that came from, but you're right. Things have changed where everything is electronic based. So I don't want to say she's wrong, but electronic copy should suffice.
Yeah. I'm like 99.9% sure that you're good there. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay, cool. So that's kind of a more archaic way of doing this. It's obviously a million times better than keeping your receipts in your pocket and storing them in envelopes in your basement. That's, oh my God, so much better than that. And if you just did this, this would be such a huge advantage. But the other side of this is now So let's talk about what your CPA needs, right? At the end of the year, your CPA is going to need to know your income and your expenses. So the best way, in my opinion, maybe not best, the simplest way, in my opinion, to keep those your business expenses from your personal expenses is I have a separate credit card for everything. So I have a credit card for turnkey when I'm buying something for the office. I have a separate credit card for home sales team, which is the LLC that owns these properties that I help manage for Craig, the owner. I have a credit card for my agent business. I have a credit card for our Airbnb business. I have a credit card for personal. I have all those credit cards. And it's very simple. I just know if I'm buying something for one of those businesses, that's the credit card I use. And the cool thing about that is if you just do that and take a picture of your receipt and put it in Google Drive or Dropbox or anything, you don't need any software like Quickbooks or anything else. We're going to talk about those softwares and how cool they are and how they can save you a lot of time. But if you just do this, you don't need that, because then at the end of the year, all you need to do is print out your statements, all your past 12 months of statements, and you know everything on that statement is a business expense, and you know you have a receipt for everything on that. So now all you need to do is just sort them. And like Andrew here at the office, I think he's actually the one who just joined. This is all he does. We were just talking about this. He has his statements, and then at the end of the year, he takes his statements and he puts them on a spreadsheet, and he categorizes based off of things like, closing gift, supplies for my rental, etc. He categorizes based off of that, and then is able to give his CPA essentially a profit and loss statement. This is all my expenses. This is all my, this is my profit. And then the CPA is able to, based off of his categories, is able to prepare his taxes, because, quick asterisk here, not all deductions are created equal. And what I mean by that is, well, I'm trying to think of an example now. So like entertainment is something we talked about last week that is no longer a write-off, but it used to be. And entertainment used to be, I want to say, a 50% write-off. So that means you could take someone golfing, but you could, and it was $200, and you could write off 50% of it, right? So $100. There's other examples I can't think of, but not all write-offs are the same. And that's why you do categorize a little bit. As so you print out your statements and you mark what different things were for, so that you can, so that your CPA can properly fill out your taxes. Okay, that's the simplest way. Meaning like that shouldn't be too disruptive for how you're doing things already. Just have a separate credit card, a separate bank account for your business expenses if you have multiple businesses, and have separate for each one, and then just take pictures of all your receipts. And all you have to do is spend a few hours at the end of the year sorting everything in different categories, give it to your CPA, you're done. Now, there are other really, really cool apps that can help you with these things. So I'm going to show you guys one really quick. This is like a 15-second video, but this is so cool. I haven't used this one, but I've heard great things about it. Okay, so this is called Keeper Tax. And can everyone see my screen? Yep, okay, perfect. Okay. I also don't know if I play a video, if it's going to, I'll just look at you guys. Raise your hand if you can't hear it when I press play. So I'm starting to play right now.
Buy something that might be a write-off and we'll text you. All you have to do is reply. That's it. Put your tax stuff on autopilot with Keeper Tax.
I probably could have just explained it and not shown a video.
Buy something that...
Okay. It seriously is that simple. So you put your, so you get the app, and I was just playing around with it. You put in your bank accounts and your credit cards and all that, but just your business ones. This is more so for people who don't want to go to the extra hassle of having multiple credit cards. Okay. So you put in your credit card, and then every time you spend something, you're going to get a text message from them, and they're going to say, hey, you just got coffee. Was that business coffee? Or was that personal coffee? Or they'll just say, was it business coffee? And you just say yes or no. If it's yes, they automatically document it. And you can also write yes. My friend is telling me you can write yes, coffee with Christy, right? Or whatever, which is kind of like writing a note at the top of a receipt, right? And it will save your notes too. And it will document it. And so at the end of the year, you'll have all your business expenses all laid out clearly, because you have just been texting yes and no, yes and no, yes and no. Super cool. I haven't used that. In my opinion, it's still cleaner to just have a separate credit card, in which case this app would be kind of obsolete. Just because if you have a separate credit card, it's so nice at the end of the year, guys. You just print out your statement and you know everything there is a business expense. But if you really don't want to do that, this sounds to me like the best option. I mean, that's so cool, being able to just literally get a text message every single time you spend money. So I thought that was pretty cool. Second app I wanted to show you guys is QuickBooks Self-Employed. QuickBooks is great at being mobile friendly. That's one thing I love about it. But it's also, I mean, it's one of those programs that has stood the test of time. Like, it has been around for so long, and every CPA knows how to use QuickBooks. QuickBooks, it sounds like I'm pushing you towards QuickBooks. I obviously don't care. I'm just saying it is something that 9 out of 10 CPAs, if they were on this call, they would say, if you're starting from scratch and you want to, start building that foundation, do QuickBooks. So don't take my word for it. Let's watch a quick video on it.
Be ready for tax time with expenses, mileage, and invoices all in one place using the QuickBooks Self-Employed app. Never touch a logbook again with automatic mileage tracking. Did you know every 1,000 kilometers equals $660 in potential tax deductions? Start claiming every deduction. Add your bank account and untangle business from personal expenses with a swipe. Snap and store receipts to effortlessly track expenses on the go. Plus create, send and track invoices on the go to get paid faster. The QuickBooks Self-Employed app. Stay in control of your business finances for tax time.
Okay, so like I said, I've been using QuickBooks Self-Employed for a month now, and I absolutely love it. So it does, instead of sending you text messages like the last one does, every time you spend money on any of your credit cards that you put on QuickBooks, for me personally, I only put on my business expenses. It says, was this a business expense? And if so, you can say what business it was for. And then in there, for me, it's a little more complicated because I have multiple businesses that I have expenses for. But for you, it's just like, was it a business expense? Yes. And then what was it? Gift, gas, etc. And then the cool thing is, it's a very intelligent program that starts to learn. And so you can say, like, trying to think of an example. Okay, so you get this consistent charge every month from this company called Realty One Group, and it's $100. And every month you get it on your app, and you say, yes, this is my desk fee, right? This is a straight real estate expense. You can say, memorize this transaction, so all future times that comes through, it doesn't pop up on your phone and you don't need to sort it. It'll just sort it for you, right? If it's a consistent thing. So obviously Starbucks, you don't want that to be a consistent thing, because sometimes it's Starbucks for fun, sometimes it's Starbucks for business, right? That's one that you would just sort every time. But things that are consistently, your Supra, your MLS, your department licensing, those fees are always going to be a business expense. So you just say, memorize that. So it becomes more intuitive as you go. It's really cheap. Like I said, I can't remember. Well, let's just look right here. Oh, I was totally wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I lied. I did the simple though. But God, for some reason I thought it was cheaper than that. But anyways, still, it's not that much money, and it makes it so nice. I love that you, I love that you can just snap a picture of your receipt. Same system as my Google Drive, except now it's all in one place, and it sorts it at the same time. So my old system, where I would take pictures when I leave the store, and then at the end of the year, I'd go through my statement and figure it out. Sometimes I'd have to go back and find my receipt, because I'd be like, I do not remember what this Amazon expense was. And then I'd have to figure it out. This time it's happening real time. So you swipe your credit card and your app says, hey, you got a new expense, which you can sort later, but you can click on the expense, say what it was, and take a picture all at once and be done. So at the end of the year, when taxes come and your CPA says, hey, what were your expenses and what was your income? It should take you more like 20 to 30 minutes just to breathe through it and make sure everything's good, because you were doing everything as you went. Whereas my old method, this was hopefully last year I'm ever doing that, it took me hours at the end of every year to go through and be like, wow, what was this expense? And then be like, oh yeah, it was for that. And then categorize it, because I didn't do it as I went. And so that's what QuickBooks really encourages you to do it as you go, when it's all fresh in your head, right? You know what that expense was right now because you just bought it. And so here, now it's on your phone, take a picture, done. And then you don't have to remember and go back in time and try and figure things out. So sounds like I'm pushing you this way. This is, I don't really care, but to me, this is the one that I found was definitely the best. Also, it tracks your miles. That's the other thing. So I didn't need another app to do that. And I'm not sure if anybody has looked up over the past week since our last meeting, mileage tracking apps, but those all cost something. And so, you know, not having to pay for another app that does that. The way it works is you get in the car, and then after you drive somewhere, it says, "Hey, was that a work drive?" And you say yes or no. And if it's a no, you just no. If it was a yes, it was yes, and it stores it for you. And so it's great because, I mean, the people who, you know, have a notepad in their car and they write down the miles and do their odometer every time, I'm like, good Lord, there's no way ADD me can put up with that. I'm not my style. That's about it, guys. If nothing else, if you don't do QuickBooks, do get a mileage app. That's something that I had a note here to talk about. Again, I just mentioned why that's just a no-brainer. It is free money that I would say at least 1 out of 2 brokers don't take that when they're doing their taxes, and it's just mind-boggling to me because it's literally free money. And don't be afraid to, you know, look up other companies. There's all kinds of companies like QuickBooks that does the same type of stuff. Stessa is one of them that I know people use. Oh God, there's so many. I'm trying to blank. But does anybody here keep track of their expenses with an app or a tool that you would recommend? No worries if not. I'm just curious. What were you saying?
So I got a question for you, Isaac.
Okay.
So the QuickBooks, is that a completely online app that you're using? Or
Yeah.
is
So
it a downloadable version you're using?
No. So they have a QuickBooks desktop, but everything I've heard is that they're getting away from that. Like I've heard it's not even going to exist in a few years. We've been QuickBooks desktop here at Turnkey since 2003, and this is the first year we've switched to QuickBooks Online. But yeah, I've heard that they're getting rid of QuickBooks Desktop. Obviously, that, you know, some people have some fears about that when it's all online. It's not, you know, doesn't feel quite as tangible. But yeah, everything I've heard is that it's all just moving online. But the cool thing about this is also my CPA. All I have to do is most CPAs pay for like CPA access to QuickBooks. And what you can do, you can just share it with your CPA and it will send everything to your CPA. Like a shared file, if that makes sense. Not like an email with like PDFs, like it'll send them that. And so he can actually go into my account. I can give him CPA access to my account and he can be like, hey, you keep marking this as a gift, but this really isn't a gift. This is a whatever. I'm being ridiculous. I'm horrible coming up with examples off the top of my head. But I mean, he does that every year where I give him my report and he's like, no, that really isn't that. That's actually this. And sometimes he's correcting me and sometimes he's like, well, let's call it this because that's better for your tax. You know, that's a higher write-off, right? And so the fact that most CPAs use QuickBooks and know QuickBooks and like QuickBooks, that was a huge factor for me because I want it to be as easy as possible for my CPA. Right? Because he'll probably, you know, he'll charge me less or he'll be quicker. There's a lot of advantages to doing it that way. So I don't know. I follow the experts, I guess, is what I'm saying. Did that answer your question, Wilson?
Yeah.
Cool. Ashley, did you have a question too?
No, I can't remember if I did.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, well, I guess that's it, guys. That was a pretty quick meeting. But I just wanted to get straight to the point. Find apps that work for you. And if you're not going to do apps, just be as organized as possible. And if nothing else, don't save paper receipts anymore. Seriously, just take a picture even and don't even save it to a Dropbox. And it's still, you're going to be way better than you were if, oh God, I will never do that again. So anyways, that's like the number one thing. So thanks for joining everybody. Obviously, if anybody wants to talk about this anytime, just one-on-one, I'm happy to tell you what I know. I'm trying to be careful, not give actual tax advice because I'm not a tax accountant or a CPA, But a lot of this stuff comes really, I've done a lot of studying this type of stuff, so I'm always happy to discuss it if you want to talk more personal.
Okay.
All right, sounds good, everybody. Well, I will see you all on Thursday maybe, or some other time. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Isaac.